Hi.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Welcome to Author Events presented by the St. Louis County Library Foundation. My name is Meredith Hopping, and as the Author Events Coordinator, and on behalf of all involved, I want to share how pleased we are that you have chosen to join us this evening. This year, we are on track to host 150 author events, with over 35,000 readers attending. These aren't just numbers, though. These are connections. Connections that happen because of each and every one of you and allow the St. Louis County Library to fully live out its mission of providing the resources and services to enrich individual minds, enhance lives, and expand perspectives. And we hope you will join us again. We have many exciting events which you'll find listed on the back of your program. I want to recognize our amazing friends at the Novel Neighbor, St. Louis's fun, welcoming, lovable home for enthusiastic readers. The team from Novel Neighbor will have copies of Eoin's books for sale at the back of the room following the presentation, and Eoin will sign books in the lobby following the presentation and a few questions from the audience. You received a line ticket number as you came in, and we will call you up by those line numbers. We all can remember distinctly the first time we were invited by an author into a world we didn't know was possible to exist. With fantastical and magical elements and anything being possible, we were swept away into imagination that knew no bounds. As a Narnia, Wrinkle in Time, Hobbit, hybrid myself, I know I wouldn't have made it through my childhood and adolescence without the worlds I could escape into and be reminded of what was good and right and often simply downright silly. Eoin Colfer has been such an author for so many. And with Firefox Moon, he has continued his enduring legacy. Many are calling Firefox Moon a dazzling, emotionally grounded adventure, one that many of us here would happily find ourselves at home in. Eoin Colfer is the best-selling author of the children's fantasy series Artemis Fowl. Yes, I think some of you are here because of that, which has sold over 25 million copies and been translated into 40 languages. The series was named the public's favorite puffin modern classic of all time and expanded to include 8 novels, several companion books, and a 2019 spin-off trilogy, The Fowl Twins. In 2020, Walt Disney Studios released an Artemis Fowl movie adaptation on Disney+, directed by Sir Kenneth Branagh and starring Fergus Shaw, Laura McDonald, Josh Gad, and Dame Judi Dench. His other notable works include The Dog Who Lost His Bark, illustrated by P.J. Lynch, and the novels Half Moon Investigations, Airman, and The Supernaturalist. The recipient of many awards, Eoin served as Ireland's Children's Laureate from 2014 to 2016. And I'm pleased to share that this evening I will be in conversation with Eoin. So I think it's about time we began. Without further ado, it is my honor to welcome our guest for this evening. Will you please join me in giving a warm St. Louis welcome to Eoin Colfer.
I love to have you come to my house and sit at the table before dinner. When my kids come in, give that speech. Eoin Colfer.
Only if you do the same for me, because I think your accent would go much further with my 3. So, well, welcome. How are you enjoying your time in America?
I always love coming to America, and I always love coming to the libraries. I mean, I don't think there's a better setup than this library. It's absolutely fantastic.
I'm a little biased.
It's very cold. It's very cold.
It only got cold today, so we're sorry. We're very sorry.
So we arrived yesterday. It's not so bad. It's fine. And then this morning I got a text. It's colder today.
Much colder today. We saw, if any of you follow Owen's Instagram, you saw he was gallivanting around St. Louis.
Gallivanting is. I've gallivanted since 1987.
Attempted gallivanting even to the arch, right? You got to
the hotel is right beside you. I think it's like you can see the arch from quite a few places. It's a lot bigger than I thought. So,
okay, wonderful.
It is amazing.
And did you get to try anything distinctly St. Louis today?
We went to this amazing cafe that's for readers and writers, and it's called the Protagonist Cafe. So I'm going up and I'm going to find someone to invest with me and open this in Dublin. It's so amazing. And people are welcome to stay all day and chat about books and browse the shelves. So there's nothing like, I've never seen anything like it. It's amazing.
Oh, good. That's normally not what people remember St. Louis for, so that's exciting. We love that. But any gooey butter cake?
No, is that the thing? Gooey?
The gooey butter cake is a thing, and also some people say our pizza.
Is that gooey butter cake?
And toasted raviolis.
I have to say, gooey butter cake does sound like something that was an accident, and then the chef tried to pass it. Oh yeah, it's gooey butter cake. Yeah, that's a real thing.
That's exactly how
It was an accident.
That's how it happened.
Absolutely. So I love that we are getting to discuss Firefox Moon as we enter into the holiday season. It's the perfect time. Did you always know that you wanted to write a series centered around Christmas magic?
For a long time, I had this idea for a long time, and I really resisted because there's kind of a stigma attached to doing a Christmas book. But then once I got over myself, yeah, I absolutely loved it. It's not the first Christmas story. The first Christmas story I ever wrote was a short story that went into, I'm forgetting the collection, but I was a teacher, a primary teacher, middle grade teacher for a long time, and the first year, maybe there's some teachers that know this, but when you enter a school and it's your first year, you kind of get all the bad duties, and you get all the yard duty, and you get all the stuff. So I was asked would I direct the Christmas show, and that is a really tough job. And maybe there's some teachers here who've been involved with that, but it's really hard to do. And you just use any costumes you can get. And back in those days, you could do things that possibly would be illegal now. For example, there were two boys who were quite naughty, and I couldn't get them to stand still as Roman soldiers on stage. So instead I said, would you two like to be the donkey? And I taped them together. Just put some kind of sheepskin on their back and said, nah, it's close enough, you guys are the donkey. So they couldn't do anything because they kept just falling over, and I don't know what you'd be allowed to do that now.
Yeah, as a former middle school teacher, no. We don't get to do that in America.
Or in Ireland. But I remember there was one kid, and he was a sheep. And I learned a valuable lesson from this, because it's how you have to be careful with the commands as a teacher you give to kids. So I was at the side of the stage. All the kids were on the stage, and the baby Jesus was in the little crib. And baby Jesus was a Cabbage Patch doll. I don't know if you remember. This is not a religious story at all, except for the baby Jesus bits. And so baby Jesus was in the crib, and the sheep came over to the side of the stage. And I was like, what are you doing? You're a sheep, you're supposed to be in the manger. He said, teacher, there's no baby Jesus in the crib. And I said, oh, I forgot the baby Jesus. He was up. No, actually, what he said to me was, there's no baby Jesus, and I kind of misunderstood. I thought, this is not the time for your religious debts. And then I realized, oh, okay, I know what you mean. I said, just go back on the stage and pass the word around. Just adore the empty crib. Tell everybody, adore the empty crib. Now, they knew what I meant, but he went back out. He said, okay, everybody, adore the empty crib. And the kids, as one, without ever communicating with each other, all started to adore the empty crib. But verbally, I meant just adore, and they were like, oh, empty crib. Of all the empty cribs, you are like the best. So I was looking at the sheep, and I was communicating, you are so dead. So he thought he would save the day, and he went up to the classroom, because he could get to my classroom from his side of the stage. He went to the classroom and he located the baby Jesus. He found Jesus. He brought it back down and he held it. Got Jesus. Good. Put Jesus in the crib. Put Jesus in the crib. And now he had two choices at this point.
Oh no.
He could do what I meant him to do, which was to stuff Jesus inside his sheepskin, and then, go sideways and slip baby Jesus into the crib. Or he could hold his arm back, fling baby Jesus. Imagine the shock of the faithful to see their Savior ping-wheeling through the house and landing in the crib.
Oh well.
And people were stunned, and I was stunned, and he jumped out and said, as you said, he jumped out, knowing he was in major trouble, he jumped out and said, "It's a miracle!" Obviously forgetting that he was a sheep. So on the next day, I think I moved to Africa about 3 weeks later. That was a coincidence, but we did actually move to Africa. So that was my initial Christmas experience. So I think it put me off doing the Christmas story, but then once I started, just the level of enjoyment and the magic associated with Christmas, I just get into it and really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. If you had to pick one thing about Christmas in your traditions that is your absolute favorite, what would it be?
Wow, there's so much I like, but I'll tell you what it is actually. My wife, Jackie, her mum, who passed away last year, her birthday was on Stephen's Day, which is Boxing Day, which is on the 26th. So we actually get 2 Christmases, because we get Christmas Day with our own boys, and then on Stephen's Day, all of Jackie's family comes to our house. And even though last Christmas Jackie's mum wasn't there, they all came to remember her. And that's a magical thing. I've married into a really wonderful family. And if you don't know, if you're not married, you're not marrying one person. You're marrying an entire family, so you better keep that in mind. So I was very lucky to marry into a great family.
Yes.
So when they come over every Stephen's Day, it's a bigger party every year. So I absolutely love that.
Oh, that's wonderful. Do they ask you to tell stories on Christmas?
No, no. If you're a writer, you are not celebrated in your own household. I think, first, my kids, they think it's hilarious when people come up to me. They think people who come up to me and ask me for signatures are idiots. They think, what are you doing? You know this is? You're asking this guy for a signature. And I remember we talked about the movie there. When the movie came out, I said, it was just before COVID, so it was supposed to be a huge premiere. And I said to my sons, I said, nobody is coming to that premiere unless they've read the book. And my son said, where exactly is the premiere? Because he would not commit to reading the book if the premiere was only going to be in London or something. Unless it was New York or Hollywood, he was not going to read the book. And my other son, he said, okay, I'll read it. And he went upstairs with the first Artemis Fowl book. And he came back about 20 minutes later and said, this was funny, you didn't write this. He honestly believed that someone else had taken my dry book and made it funny, so no, they don't ask me to tell. It's just leave the money on the dresser, get out of my bedroom. And that's it.
So, Firefox Moon is a sequel. Did you always know that Juniper was going to have an extended journey, that it was going to go past one book?
No, I really thought it was going to be a once-off, because it ties up so neatly at the end. But when I found myself getting towards the end, I realized I was really enjoying working with those characters, and it's a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed the Santa Claus that I had presented. So sometimes it's subconscious, it takes over, and it's making up these ideas as you go, and 3 months later I realised I had the bones of an entire book. So I was really delighted to go back in, but it couldn't be another Christmas book, I think. So this one's Midsummer, which is like an old pagan festival. So that's it, but it still has much fun, I hope.
Well, I can say that it is, and my 8-year-old Augustine would agree. Now he doesn't like what I write, but he likes what you write. So the plot of Firefox Moon, and I hope I'm not giving too much away, involves a witch wielding a flaming dagger, a cursed queen desperate for a cure, and a pack of wolves out for revenge, plus, my personal favorite, a giant ground sloth the size of a Toyota Prius. How do you know how to strike the perfect balance between these diverse, fantastical elements and realistic aspects to create such a cohesive narrative for young readers?
I think teaching, I taught for a long time, and when you teach for a long time, when you teach, you really learn what kids are interested in and what they will listen to and how to walk that line. And as a child myself, I remember I never liked it when things were just not explained. You know, someone would just turn up with a cloak of invisibility or a time machine and a watch.
Right.
I didn't like that because it was an easy way out. So I like to really explain everything. Why the sloth can grow to this size. What is this flaming sword? Go into the history all the way back to Arthurian days.
Mm-hmm.
So kids can follow the thread. And I think if they can follow the thread, and it's possible, I mean, it wouldn't bear up to that much of a stress test by a scientist, but it's enough that kids can say, yeah, I'll buy that, for as long as I'm reading it. And that's the way I like to read books, and I think I held on to that. But it is a tough line to walk, and sometimes I go too far, and then Eleanor, who's here somewhere, my editor, she's right there. She has this, she will pull me back in, or she will suggest something. And every author, if you're lucky, will have an editor like Eleanor, who will help you on your journey. So thanks. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Eleanor. Not all editors are good, so yay for good editors. Yay for good supportive editors. I would be remiss if I didn't mention Artemis Fowl. That series remains incredibly popular, and I think is the reason quite a few readers are here this evening with us. How has the legacy of that series influenced your subsequent writing, including the new Juniper Lane series?
Artemis has been so impactful on my life because of that I was able to become a full-time writer, which is a great gift because for years I was working as a writer and also teaching. So to be able to just write has been a fantastic gift, which I've had now for about 25 years. Since Artemis came out. But it was also gave me the confidence to kind of go my own way. Mm-hmm. Because with Artemis was the first time I really let my own sensibilities loose. Because up to then I was trying to be like in Narnia books, I was trying to do some C.S. Lewis, or I was trying to do some Neil Gaiman, or I was trying to follow various writers that I loved. But with Artemis, I just went my own way. And when that really worked, I realized I could keep going. I could keep doing what I wanted to do. And that's another thing that Artemis allowed me to do. Because I had this blockbuster series, I could go off and do little plays that I knew wouldn't really probably make money. And I could do musical theatre, which I absolutely love. And I could do some crime novels for adults. So I could take risks on things that might not be financially successful because I knew next year I'll do another Artemis book and that will pay the mortgage. So I don't know if I was a clapper with someone leaving. So yeah, Artemis has been, for me it's been fantastic and I never get tired talking about it. And there's more to come, maybe not from me, but in the Artemis realm, more things are on the way. So that it's like a juggernaut. It never
You
stops.
heard it here first. Is that an exclusive, or have you already said that?
No, I probably said too much now. There's no saying. No cameras there. I see. The ladies are. Yeah.
No,
I'm just saying that's deep fake.
AI is crazy these days. Absolutely. Well, as a former theater kid, which you all knew that just by looking at me, what is your favorite musical?
I have so many musicals that I love. I love The Producers. I think that's an amazing musical. I love The Book of Mormon. I think The Book of Mormon is fantastic. There's a musical on the rounds at the moment, Moulin Rouge, which is amazing if you get a chance to see that. I think musical theatre is interesting because it can be the greatest form of stage or anti-change or the worst. Some musicals are so bad. But most of the ones that make it through the grind, they're always amazing. The performers are amazing. So, someday I'll get a musical up. But I did one. Actually, Juniper's Christmas started off as a musical, and that toured North America for. But it could only tour for about 6 weeks because it's a Christmas thing. So I toured a couple of times. So hopefully I'll be able to bring that back at some point.
Absolutely. So some questions to you about your process. What does your writing process look like? From first idea to any research you might do to final product?
It's a tough one. I don't have any way that's set in stone. Sometimes the book will begin with a title, and then I will build around that, or sometimes I'll have an idea for a character, or I might get an idea for a scene. Very often I get an idea for a final scene in a book, and I write that scene, and then I'll work back from that. Usually it takes me 2 or 3 months to plan out a book, and then it will take 9 months to write the book.
Okay.
But I'm fairly disciplined, as I will sit down every day for 5 or 6 minutes, no, hours at least. And when I was younger, I used to sit down for 12 hours, but 5 or 6 is enough for me now.
So then, do you consider yourself more of a plotter than a pantser?
I'm a bit of both. I do plot, but I get bored plotting and I just want to start writing. And that's dangerous because I've had to abandon a lot of books because I couldn't. There's such a massive hole in the middle. So I'm trying to plot more now.
Yeah, so for those of you who might be familiar, a plotter is where an author will go out and kind of detailed plot out everything they're going to write. And a pantser is an author who flies by the seat of their pants. And so, yeah, it sounds like a bit of a...
I'm glad you explained pantser because that's misunderstood. That figured like the deadline's approaching. Very nervous.
So, what do you love most about the writing process?
I really love just the freedom that you have. I'm out of my office, on my own. I've got 1980s music on. I'm not allowed, like I'm listening to Rush, which is banned in the house. And, I've got like a David Bowie poster on the wall. It's like total... Like most people are told when they're about 19 or 20, okay, you're a grown-up now, you got to start, you got to get a job, you got to stop thinking like a child, stop reading comic books, stop talking about dragons, grow up. I have never been told that. So people are always saying, more leprechauns, think about leprechauns. Don't. For God's sake, don't grow up. Stay here, but do what you're doing. It's working. Great. So I'm given the latitude. If I go home and say, I'm going to spend the next year thinking about dragons, people will say, fantastic. That is just what we wanted to hear. If my son comes home and says, Dad, I think I'm going to think about dragons for a while, I would say, get back to work. Beg that boss to take you back. That's what you're doing. You're not thinking about dragons. The scariest words my son said to me recently was, I'm just starting on my tattoo journey. I was like, Yeah, I think it's, I've been allowed to keep in touch with that childish part of myself that explores these fictions in their minds. And when we were kids, we all made up stories in our heads all the time and had ourselves on imaginary journeys. And the only difference with me and perhaps you is we write them down. And that's a wonderful thing to be able to do with your life.
Absolutely. Well, I think all the parents here should understand this is what happens, right? When we don't tell them to stop thinking about dragons. So thank you for living true to that. Book that you would be proud to say is your favorite?
Of mine or someone?
Of someone else's.
Oh,
I mean, obviously your own, but someone else's.
I think there are kids' books that I would definitely have loved to write, like Peter Pan, I think would be very top of that list. The Princess Bride, I mean, that is absolute. That is a well-trained baby slapping. So The Princess Bride, if you haven't read it, you should, get it on the way out of this library tonight. It's an absolute gem of a book, and it's one of the few times where the movie is almost as good as the book. And I know what happens when that doesn't happen. So, but in this case, it's fantastic. I don't have to tell anyone here what it's about. I really love that book. And Treasure Island is another amazing one. And Kidnapped and Jekyll and Hyde, all the Stevenson books. So I have so many heroes. And all I have to do if I ever am flagging is read just a couple of pages, and it just fires me up to go away and write some better stuff. And so someday I'll write something like as good as Princess Bride.
Is there anything you enjoy reading that you might not be so proud to tell us about? Like a guilty pleasure?
I don't really believe in that anymore. I used to listen to pop music and not tell anyone. I remember I was talking earlier with Eleanor, and when I was in school, our high school was divided very. There was the line, and one last side of the line was the mods, and that was the Jam, the Who, who else was mods? All the Quadrophenia people, and on the other side was the heavy metal people. So that was people like AC/DC, Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple, and I was on that side. I was like the smallest, skinniest heavy metal guy. But secretly, I was at home listening to Kate Bush, and I could tell you, and there was only one exception, one person who managed to slip into the heavy metal side, who was not a heavy metal person, and for some reason that was Janet Jackson. Like we all loved Janet. I don't know how it came up, but someone said, "Yeah, well, I kind of like Janet Jackson," and we thought he'd be killed on the spot, but no. The other top guy said, "Yeah, well, actually, Janet Jackson's pretty good." So Janet Jackson became beloved by the heavy metal people in Wexford, Ireland. So I don't know what happened there, but I never admitted my love of Kate Bush. But now, as a 6-year-old man, I'm finally prepared to say that I do really love Kate Bush. So, if you don't know, does everyone know who Kate Bush is?
Woo!
She wrote the song "Running Up That Hill," which was big from Stranger Things a couple years ago, which I haven't seen, but I will watch.
This is a safe space.
I feel the warmth.
What are you currently reading?
I'm trying to think what I just finished James. Who's read James? That is the most amazing book. So I have another book by the same author, which I'm going to start, which is about the Native Americans. That guy is an amazing writer. So also, I really like slim books. So I know that's not a great literary reason, but if I'm traveling, it's nice to put a slim book in your bag, and so Stephen King is out when I'm on the road. But when I get home, I'll write.
Absolutely. So what comes next? What are you working on that we can look forward to?
I've got at least two books coming out next year. One is a modern, or I was going to say modern fairy tale. It's written in modern times, obviously, but it's meant to read like a fairy tale from 200 years ago. So that is with the artist P.J. Lynch. Some of you may know P.J. He wrote the Christmas Miracle, he illustrated the Christmas Miracle of Jonathan Toomey, which is a fantastic book. So I have a book out with them. And then I do a series of graphic novels for source books. The first one was Illegal. And it's about children who are caught in modern day man-made crises. So the first one was Illegal, which was about kids coming up from North Africa to Europe in these tiny boats. The second one is called Global, which is about children who are caught on the fringes of global warming, and it's often kids who are worse affected. And the third one, sadly, is called War, and it's about a war in a European country and how the kids who have nothing to do with either side are the worst affected. So that will be out sometime next year. So that's two, and I possibly will have a novel myself also coming, but we don't know. It sometimes seems like I'm working really hard, but these things, they're spread out over 5 years and then they all come out together. So, but that's going to be interesting. We're probably going on a tour for the war book.
Well, we hope you'll come back.
I hope so too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So we come to a really exciting time in the evening where we're going to open up the questions to you all. So Emily has a microphone. If you do have a question, if you will raise your hand, and she will come to you so that you can speak into the microphone so that everyone can hear. And we just ask that you keep your question concise so we can get to as many as possible, and that your question is actually a question and not just a comment. So if you have a question, please go ahead and raise your hand.
Sorry, that's it. You just get the microphone now. My favorite question of all time was something like this, where a little girl, put up your hand if you want to. She put her hand up.
Just come take mine.
And she put her hand up, and she was holding her hand up for so long that she was holding with her other arm. And eventually she got the microphone and she said, "Can I hold the microphone?" I said, "No."
What inspired you to make the Artemis Fowl books?
Thank you. What's your name?
Eva.
Eva. I was inspired by my little brother, Donald. Donald was a very mischievous boy, so he was like a modern-day Artful Dodger. And one day, in Ireland, I don't know if you have this here, but we make a very big deal out of the First Communion. And when you're about 10, or maybe younger, all the boys dress up in suits. Well, now it's much more casual, but back in the 70s, all the boys would dress up in suits, and all the girls would dress up in these extravagant white dresses. So it looked, for all the world, like a mass wedding of children. But I saw a picture of Donald, a photograph, and it was a black and white photo, and he had a suit on, and it was like a Roger Moore. Remember those safari suits that Roger Moore used to wear in James Bond? And it was one of those, and he had one hand in the pocket, and he was just grinning in that way that kids have when you know they're just about to do something really naughty. And I had written a couple of books, so my brain was searching for ideas. And I saw that picture and said, he looks like a 10-year-old Bond villain. And then I thought, wow, that's not a bad idea. You got a Bond villain that was only 10. So when I started to write the book, Artemis was just the villain. But the more I wrote him, the more I was interested in that character. And so he grew and grew. And it seemed to me like a great exercise. Can I write a bad guy that everybody loves? And is that possible to do that? And I knew then, once I started writing it for kids, he couldn't just be a bad guy. He had to become the hero, but he had to become the hero slowly because I had bills to pay. So sometimes 8 books become the hero. But eventually then he did something completely selfless in the last book and he becomes hero. So my brother Donald, this is more for the adults, my brother Donald was like, so I'm Artemis Fowl. I was like, what? You know, you are kind of. So he got a t-shirt that said, I am Artemis Fowl. And we used to go into bars in Dublin and just stand at the bar. And inevitably, some girl would come over and say, yeah, you're Artemis Fowl? And you say, yeah. So anyway, he's been divorced 3 times. No, that's not true.
All right, other questions?
What inspired you to write books?
We'll answer it. What's your name?
Ben.
Ben. I think I was inspired by my mom, mostly in that respect. My mom was a drama teacher, which probably explains my love of musical theatre and theatre in general. But she used to write. I learned to read, actually. This is amazing. My mom would come home and she would be in a play, and she would have her script, and she would always be looking for volunteers to run lines. And me and my 4 brothers would be volunteer because we loved it, because you got to act out all the other parts. So I learned to read doing lines with her, and you kind of learn how a story works when you do that. You meet the characters, the adventure starts, it gets more and more tense. There's a few jokes, and then in the end you find out who was the murderer, or whatever. And so I started to write stories based on the lines I would read with my mother. So eventually, that led to me writing my own stories, and then eventually my own books. So I would say my mother. So and my dad then was a historian, so I got really interested in history, and I put those 2 together for some of the Victorian books I wrote, like the Warp series. So yeah, if your parents are really encouraging you, that is a good sign. And if your teachers are encouraging you, saying that you're a good writer, a lot of kids tend to dismiss what their teachers say. They go, you're a teacher, you have to tell me I'm great. But we don't. And a lot of it is what we don't say. You know, do you think I'm a good writer? Oh look, is that a monkey? But if we tell you you are good at something, there's like an 86% chance that is true, and that is far greater percentage than you get in the medical profession. So I totally believe us. So if you have mum, a dad, brothers, sisters, uncles, aunties, anybody who's interested in you, what you do as a storyteller, you should really take advantage of that and, you know, listen to them, go to them, because they want to help and they want to tell you.
Yeah.
Anyone over on this side?
I think in the front.
Oh.
You're getting your steps in today.
Yeah.
Need some steps.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Have you read The Outsiders by Essie Hidden?
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Did you like it?
I did. It's been 30 years since I read it. I think that was on, I was teaching in North Africa in an American school, and I had grades 6 and 7. I don't do grade 8 because there's nothing more sadder than seeing little Irishman talking up at an 8th grader. You better stop or I'm going to get a stepladder. But yeah, I did The Outsiders, yeah.
I went to where they filmed the movie, met some of the actors.
Wow.
I have a shirt for it, a jacket.
Nice. Is one of your favorite books? It looks like it's your favorite book.
Second favorite.
Second favorite.
Artemis Fowl.
Yes! I do not know this person, I've never met this person.
What do you do when you get like stuck when you're writing? Like you get a point where it's like, okay, what do I do? Like
Yeah.
you just reach yourself over.
What I like to do is just immediately give up. No, that's actually a really good question because that happens to me all the time. And it happens to nearly every writer. And it's not because you don't have ideas. you've got loads of ideas. It's just you don't know which idea to put in this place. So what I like to do, and it doesn't always work, mind you, I have a couple of strategies. The first one is I always have more than one project on the go. So if I reach a point in my story where I don't know how to get, past this particular thing, I go and do the other project for a couple of days. And usually, while you're doing the other project, your unconscious mind is like a Rubik's Cube, is trying to figure it out. And you don't really have to worry about it. And then, before you know it, hopefully the solution will kick in and you can go back to your primo project. My other one is I find, and it's been recently proven in this survey, that walking, after a certain amount of time, if you walk, after, I think it's an hour, about 60 minutes, your endorphins start to kick in. And you don't have to be walking quickly, just walk. And that, the ideas start to flow. And that's why I always have my phone, which has the notes app on it, and I'm sending myself to the notes all the time. So this sounds like it's a question from personal experience. So I would say to you, find somewhere safe to walk, get a second project, you should be okay. I get the feeling that you're a writer too. There's probably loads of young people here who are trying to write their first book, and you might think, I'm too young to do a book. You're never too young. I knew a girl in France who was 14 and she had a bestseller in France, The Legend of the Stones, I think it was called. So you're never too young. Get going. I didn't get published till I was like 30. I wasted those all those 20s having fun and meeting girls, well, meeting one girl. So I'm not sure what my message is. This poor kid is like, take the mic, take the mic.
So I went to visit Ireland last summer,
Nice.
and I heard a lot of the Ireland history and myths. So I was wondering how much of Ireland's history and myths inspired some of your works.
A huge amount. The mythology of Ireland is so rich and deep. And when we go to school, one week we were studying the very real 1916 rebellion, and then the following week we will be talking about, the boy who trapped the leprechaun. And Artemis is literally another story about a boy who traps a leprechaun. The most famous fairy story that we have, and mine is just the latest version of that. So I was directly influenced. And the first book I ever wrote was all about Irish mythology, and thank God it never got published. It was so bad. When Artemis was a big hit, I got a call from a publisher. And I had submitted a book 6 years earlier, and they said, we want to publish, and I just said, absolutely not, please burn the copy you have. It's never going to be published, so some things are not meant to be. But yet, to answer your question, there's a really direct line between my work and the mythology of Ireland.
Middle here.
Do you have a particular one-shot, one-off that you're proud of, where like it was just a single book that didn't have a continuation?
I have a couple. That's a great question. I have a couple of one-shots. First one is a book called Airman, which was about we got it there. I'm really proud of that book, and I've been asked several times by the publisher to do a sequel to that, and I resisted because it seems to be very complete. And I wrote one a couple of years ago for grown-ups called High Fire, which was a comedy dragon story. Not comedy, but very sarcastic. I just love the idea that this dragon living in New Orleans, in the swamp, not in New Orleans, but in Louisiana, out in the swamp, on his own. He's the last dragon, and it just came to me, this guy is sitting in a lazy boy, and he's drinking a beer. So he's like, and he's watching Flashdance, which is his favorite movie. And I thought, that's a great image. Where does this guy come from? What's he about? And so I ended up writing this story about about Vern the dragon. Lord Highfire as was, who's now been reduced to living in a shack. And I got a call from a librarian. I got an email from these librarians in when I saw the address. So it was New Orleans librarian, and I thought this is probably not going to be good because I'd never been to Louisiana, and I'd written a whole book about it. And they said, you obviously have a great love for Louisiana. How long did you live here? And would you ever come down and do a series of lectures about our culture? And I said, yeah. But luckily for all concerned, especially me, COVID arrived. So I didn't go, because everything I know about Louisiana is in the book. So I didn't leave any bit of research out. It's all in there. So I would say Highfire and Airman, they're so complete. So if you see like Airman Part 2, you know I've had a rough year financially. Thank you. Just don't judge me too harshly.
All right, and we have time for one more question.
What is the favorite character that you have written about in just any of your books?
That's a tough one. Sometimes people say your characters in your books are like your babies, but those are people who don't have babies. But I'm very fond of like the comic characters usually. So there's a mythological dwarf in the Artemis Fowl series called Mulch Diggums. You use him sparingly because he's very potent. So you just let him, you drop him in 2 or 3 times a book where he comes in, he passes gas violently, and then eats a chicken and goes. And I really like that character, but you can't make the mistake of making him a main character because it's too much. So you have to just drop him in every now and then. So I always look forward to that part of the book where Mulch Diggums is going to come in. And I know that the readers also look forward to that part. And when he shows up, they go, yay, we're in for a funny chapter. So yeah, he would be definitely one of my favorites. And I would like to state emphatically that he is not based on one of my brothers. A fictional character bears no resemblance, no matter what some people might say.
All right. Well, will you all please join me?
Thank you.
Backstage, and then we will come out to sign some books. So if you are in line group number 1, if you want to go ahead and head out to the lobby and get in line, we will be out shortly. So thank you so much.
I'll get your coat, bro.